Welcome back, everyone, to the Song of Waves and Wind, where I have arrived at the Darlaja to find out the current state of preparing for the expedition.
I believe the errant members of my kindred prepared for an overland journey even before they recovered the map.
Hmm. Perhaps they were aided in this by the secret wealth gathered by Sharula and others of her sort. Scoundrels hiding in the true nature behind their faces. I've seen this before. But we must take time to prepare for our own pursuit, or we will doom it to fail before it has begun. The lands east of the city into which Azagoth and Acacia fled are treacherous and full of dangers for the unwary. Caravans leave Umbar Baharbel and follow the road of riches eastward along the Ikhorban River before turning south and crossing the rocky wastes that mark the edge of the Great Sands. From there it is long, inhospitable trek to the desert kingdoms in the south, from which great wealth flows to us, and back again. The treasure from the south has slowed in recent months. Can it be due to anything but the unrest in the Empire Ordach following the war? Caravans are now slow to depart from Umbar, and that will make their masters hungry for work. I have written an offer of employment for a caravan driver, his animals, and sufficient supplies for the journey. Bring this to Jakbir outside at the forum, and he should accept its terms without difficulty. But before you depart Darlaja, you should also speak with the other leaders of the kindred about their own preparations. They may have some tasks for you as well. Predictably, they probably will. As I would guess with that caravan driver. You can be sure. Well, perhaps, but maybe you could make things a little bit easier if you do whatever weird quest I need you to do. Well, let's go and find out. What does Belandor have to say?
Azagoth betrayed the city and its people, but that is not the extent of his evil.
The cruel sorceries that Azagoth wove inflicted terrible pain and death upon the men under my command, and those are the hurts for which I will make him pay. My wife, Meshka, knows the direction of my thoughts, and she has encouraged me to follow where my heart leads on this matter. Still, she didn't know it would take me far from the city and into the wild lands east of Umbar. Will you speak with her and learn if she would have me stay? Whatever she decides will become my course, and I will not gainsay it or act in any fashion opposed to her mind. Afterwards, if she gives her approval, I would join you and the others at the east gate of the city. All right. So that he can finish his preparations, he needs me to go and inform his wife of what is happening. Well, all right, fine. What about Koltech?
It is not a habit of mine to set forth upon a journey without knowing where it would end.
But none of us can say precisely where Azagoth and Akasi might be bound. If only Belandor had thought to lay his eyes upon the tapestry map when he first came to the Machakorbo, our circumstances now might be rather different, and of a more beneficial flavor. But they are not, and the duration of our pursuit cannot be determined. We must prepare for a long journey, and hope to be too well supplied, rather than not provisioned enough. As it happens, I own a controlling interest in a number of warehouses in the city, and I can ensure most favorable rates for the provisioning of our party. Bring this order to Ilbedon at Stonecliff Market in the lower ward, and she will see what we filled. That is filled. All right, fine. We will bring this to the provisioner. Yep, we certainly don't want to be under-provisioned. I suppose that's true. And here we have Rothgar. Oh, Rothog.
My copeshes have become dull from recent use. That business with the Drake rather cool.
Oh yes. Oh yes. This is with rather cool. Yes. For a journey of this sort, I need these kopeshes sharp. I will go to Dahal Hulis later today to have them leave them with Mekhanen for sharpening. He can do the work while I visit with my good friend Hershok. There, this parchment contains a list of other things that I am to bring with me on the road. Give them, give him that, and tell him that I will expect everything prepared when I arrived. Okay. Okay, visit. I will go to right. All right, very well. So we've got lots of things to do. Now, which order should we do them in? Well, it appears that I don't have to look for Meshka. Hello?
You wished to speak with me?
Ah. I am on my way to see my husband about this very subject, Pineleaf. He has my support in this and all things, and I plan to tell him that in person. I hope that you will stand beside him and protect my Belandor from any dangers that the two of you may face upon the eastward road. He will do the same for you and for the others of your company. I am certain of it. All right, well, at least that was a favorable outcome. Now, I hope that the rest of the deliveries will be just as easy. Ah, here's Jacques Beer.
You have a caravan order for me from the Golden Queen?
The road of riches has always been dangerous for caravans such as mine, remaining a favorable target for brigands and waylayers. But in these times of tumult, it has become more treacherous than before. I understand that the Orakai fight to maintain their grip upon the trade with the desert kingdoms, despite their failing empire, and men whisper the merciless phantoms and spirits hiding in the night's darkness, seeking vulnerable prey. I will see what I can do for the Lady Hamlock in honor of our long and profitable relationship, but I fear I can promise little. You understand this? Yeah, I guess that's true. Well, you'll have Rothog to help protect it. I guess that might be counted for something good. Now, who's next? I have found Mekahun.
What? You have an order for me? From Rothog this storm?
I am not a learned man, stranger, but providing weapons and armor for Rothog and his hoolies requires me to become a swift pupil. And only thing more quick in all the city must be the rate at which he dulls those kopeshes. When he arrives to see Hershok, I will sharpen them, and of course, we will provide the rest of the items on this list, if they are to be found anywhere within the Hall Hulis, or the storage rooms located beneath the arena. But can you tell me this? If Rothog is leaving the city, who will stay to feed Hershok? None of my fellows dare approach him. Well, I don't have an answer to that question. So, I am going to guess that we are going to have to go and get the dwarves. Yes, Coltex orders. And finally, the Stone Cliff Market, where we have Ilbidun. And let's see what she has to say.
What have you brought me? An order for supplies for a caravan leaving the city?
Well, knowing Coltech's record with the local ladies, I'm sure she'll be happy to oblige. And she takes the parchment from me and reads it. By the time that she finishes, her wordless grunt matches the number of times that she has shaken her head. There was a day I might have fulfilled this order, but it is months gone now, ever since we accepted Coltech's offer of providing guards for the warehouse, items both large and small have gone missing in surprising quantities. I'm not blaming the dwarf, you understand, but it is curious. Nothing more than that. As a result, we may have some difficulty in fulfilling this order. I will see what I can do. I wonder if Azagoth stole some stuff there. Well, I suppose we should go and speak with Sirgun. I've finished speaking with the kindred.
There you are, my friend. I see that the kindred of the coins have kept you busy making arrangements for our departure.
While I waited, I pondered the road ahead of us and came to a realization. I know very little about the lands and kingdoms to the east and south within the Haradways, beyond the Cape of Umbar. I don't want my lack of knowledge about this area to hinder our pursuit. Well, there is that.
I find myself thinking about the Gondorian scribe that sailed with us on the Wave Hunter. Yes, Kaibar.
When last I spoke with Kaibar, he said that he had found employment in the Tor Gardens performing the duties of a scribe for an esteemed scholar of Umbar. Perhaps he'll introduce us to his employer, and his men will tell us what we need to know about the lands near Harad to which we must travel. Scribes and scholars gather upon the terrace of the arena, the Tor Gardens. I would there begin to search for our friend Kaibar. Oh, I was wondering what happened to Kaibar. Right. Let's go and find out. After all that searching through the Tor Gardens, I finally found him.
It is very good to see you again, my friend.
Kaibar claps you on the arm and listens to your account of recent adventures. I confess you have made yourself more useful than I. Perhaps it's because I'm a man of Gondor and the folk here distrust me. But Halim has been slow to include me in the lessons that he administers for his other students. Instead, I have been given the duties of a servant, sorting jars of ink, picking berries for pigments, running errands for the scholar and his fellows. These are not complaints. When I chose to make a new life for myself in Umbar, I knew that that's where I must begin. This is merely my first step. If you help me finish my task for today, I will introduce you to Galim, and he will have much to say about the geography and history of Near Harad. Today, I have been charged with picking the berries that color the pigments for scholars' inks near the Tor Gardens. I have almost collected enough, but if you help me, the work will be sooner done. The berry bushes are just down the steps of the east. I was saving the nearest ones for the task's end, and so it would seem to go more quickly as I tired of the errand. Okay, so get 6 berries. Does he mean these bushes? Alright. There you go. There are some berries. Very good. Now, there's another bush right over here. Good. Good. And soon I'll be done. Here are the berries you ordered.
Yes, thank you. These should provide the amount of pigment for which I was made responsible.
The scholars of the Tor Gardens go through a lot of ink and a lot of scrolls as they perform their work. Be glad that today was berry picking rather than parchment making, for that takes much longer. I had thought that Halim would be back by now, but he has not returned. He may still be at the Ken Tachlim in the northern reaches of the place called the Kamrabzur in Umbar Moch. I overheard him talking about having to go beneath the sea for some reason, but his task may be taking longer than he expected. If you find him at the Kantachlin and tell him that I have finished my own task, he may be willing to impart the knowledge that you need. I hope that he's safe. I have heard the passages beneath the city can be dangerous. Don't worry, I've been there already. Ah, I have found Khalim.
Yes. Oh, I am in no danger.
Yes, I have come to the passages beneath the city in search of a book that has been misplaced. Has my student already finished his task I set him to? Yes, he has done it. It is true. I could do that. Let's see, unfortunately, there's still a matter of the misplaced book, and I can answer no questions until I've recovered it. If you retrieve it for me, I'll be happy to instruct you. The book is called Kanash Tubu Hara, and its author is unknown, which only adds to the tome's allure. It may be somewhere far to the south of the halls of Harkasfar, here in Umbar. The gladiators that roam those halls believe that the book possesses some secret sword art, and they are always stealing it away in hopes that it might learn the techniques. Oh, boy. I found the hall of the gladiators. Now let's see if I can find the book anywhere around here. Oh, he's going to give me a fight, that's for sure. I guess there isn't much chance that a random gladiator is going to drop the book for us, so let's try this area. Maybe somebody here will have heard of it. And I don't think they're going to be polite about me taking it either. Gladiator brute. Ouch! Okay, you can go down. Hey, have any of you seen a book around here? You know, a group of bound paper, bound in leather, something like that. Some have recruited and might have something about fighting techniques in it. Let's see. Oh. This way. Oh, there's the book. Really? It could have gone a lot more easily if I had checked earlier. Ah. You guys are going to take forever, don't you think so? Completed. Gladiator Slayer of Combrazur. Now the bad news is there's a follow-up. Oh, come on! Give me a chance. Everything's going to respawn here while I do this, isn't? Alright, fine. Grab the book and... Oh, come on. Of course there's somebody waiting. Are we done yet? Thank you. Let's get the book and get out of this place. I hope that this is the right book.
This is not the only time the hoolies from the arena have stolen away Kanash Tubuhara.
The legend of that tome grows with every passing year, and no amount of study has yet convinced them the arts contained within are beyond their possibility to learn. For me, the technique is of no interest. I am attracted by the beauty of this unknown author's prose. He, or she, named it Kanash Tubu Hara, which means Road of Bending Reeds in the language of old Shagani. I thank you for returning it to me. But let us climb now to the surface and join my apprentice Kaibar where I left him in the Tor Gardens. Then I will answer whatever questions you may have for me. Your recovery of Kanash Tubu Hara has earned you some of my time. All right, good. I am returned?
My teacher, Jalim, has suggested that I begin the lesson, so I will do the best I can.
I must warn you, I don't know a great deal about Near Harad. All right? Galen shakes his head in disapproval.
Already you have betrayed your lack of knowledge, young TitanBar.
You are not to blame for it, but you hail from Gondor, and your words reveal it. Near Harad, you name that land, but you speak in error. That is the Gondorian name for the place. Indeed, Harad is an Elvish word. It means south, for those lands are south of Gondor, and that relationship has been one of uneasy tension or of war. To the folk that live here, the name is Shagana, the fair land, but even that makes too simple or more complicated reality. Okay.
Tales from long ago speak of a green and fertile land threaded with mighty rivers.
Shagana, the fair land. Yes, it was fair once. Tales from long ago speak of a green and fertile land threaded with mighty rivers. The men who came to that place worked the land, their crops thriving, and they harvested valuable spices and rare wood from the forest, and gold and jewels from beneath the hills. But that was long ago. The wealth of Shagana was like a campfire set upon a hill, and covetous men saw it from far away, and hungered for the spices, and the rare woods, and the gold, and the jewels. These men came from even further south, in Yarmat, which my student Kabar might call Far Harad, but they came from Khand to the east. They came from other directions as well, from the west and from the north. They came from Numenor, and later from Gondor. The Shagani numbers these among the cruelest oppressors. Okay, so they don't like Gondorians if they said that Gondorians were the worst oppressors.
I understand the actions of Gondor in the south may appear unjustified to the Haradrim, but...
Now, none who join the armies of Sauron can claim to stand on the side of justice. How can the people... How can the folk of Shagana come to stand with Sauron, Castellin? Did they not oppose his evil? Were there none who fought his domination? Well... Oh, they're going to have an argument about this.
Throughout the lands of the south, he was known as He Who Sees All, or Barhush.
Yes, and he came to dominate various smaller kingdoms, and in times even the great empire of Ordach. Those who opposed him rise more slain, or in terrible numbers, and as the power of those kingdoms grew, so did that of those of Barhush. Fewer and fewer stood against the might of his dark lord and his servants. The more and more believed that his and his strength might serve to drive back the ancestral enemies, the Khandari, the Numenorians, the Dunedain, and the Gondorians. Boy, he is going to hate Elessar, that's for sure. You ask how Bakrush came to dominate the fair land. That was the foundation. His church ruled through fear, but so too did they promise something that the Shagani had sought for centuries: victory over their enemies. Was it a lie? Oh, perhaps it was, and the execution of that lie would forever change the face of Shagana and the fate of its people. But I have grown parched. Bring me a jar of water from the fountain down the stairs to the east, and I will tell you how Barkush and the vast empire he now controlled conquered the fair land and transformed it forever. Wonderful. Get some water. I will presume that he means at this fountain right here. Ah, here's a nice convenient jar for the task. A jar of water. You pick up a jar of clean fountain water. Okie dokie. There you go.
Thank you for this water. It will prove most helpful with my demonstration.
He takes a brief sip of water from the jar before continuing. East and south of Umbar Baharbel, beyond the marshlands of Ambarul, there was a green and fertile plain called Sugadin, bordered on the south by the river Usal. That waterway formed a natural barrier between Shagana and the lands which originated the great southern empire of Ordach. Okay. Halim appends the jar that you brought him and spills the water onto the ground. Okay. He did say something about a demonstration.
It is the most valuable of all the resources to be found in this part of Middle Earth.
The water is more valuable than any of Lady Hamlach's golden coins, or the Abashal prized by the kinsman Koltek and the Temenar dwarves. Water! Only with it can crops thrive. Without it, life cannot survive. You will notice its absence within a day. Within 3 days, it will kill to acquire it, or perish yourself. But water can be even more valuable than this. Water can protect you from your enemies. It can serve as a barrier, and if the barrier disappears... He falls silent, considering the ground at his feet where the water he poured has already soaked into the gaps of the cobbles and vanished. 200 years ago, a terrible drought and famine fell upon the green fields of Sugadin, where once thrived the abundant kingdom of Nisaka. The river Usal ran dry, leaving only the arid and cracked channel that was once its riverbed. Desert claimed the Hood, and the river land on either side of Usal became the Lachiden, the Witherlands. This distressing process came to be called the Great Dearth, and the land through which the Usal flowed never recovered. They will never be green again. The drying of the river Usal removed the last barrier between Shagana and the great southern empire of Ordach, and the armies of the Ordachai marched north into Shagana and brought formerly separated kingdoms under the control of Hul of Ordach and the Dark Lord that he served. Most learned men believe that the Great Dearth was not caused by nature, but was the result of Ordachai sorcery given to them by Barkush. Ever was the Dark Lord seeking to remove the barriers between the lands under his control and those that he sought. That's your question, Kaibar?
Can this be true? Can the sorceries of the Empire of Ordach truly have such an effect?
Well, I would say most likely, especially if they're bolstered by a certain Dark Lord that, thank goodness, is no longer around. No, I am being foolish. How could I have forgotten the terrible smoke that Sauron sent before his armies during the war? The day without a dawn came, and all of Gondor darkened, even distant Ethring, where my family lives. My mother and my uncle resented my absence on the terrible day when the weeks that followed, but I witnessed it in Minas Tirith, and knew the despair of it even as they did. Of course, Sauron could grant the Ordachai such terrible power, if it served his fell purposes. Halim, have you ever heard of something called the Song of Waves and Wind? Could it be this tale of legend of Sauron or of Ordach? Might it be related to the great dearth that dried up the river Usal and brought the desert to Shagana? Oh, do we have a chance to finally learn what the Song of Waves and Wind is?
The Song of Waves and Wind? No. I'm not familiar with such a tale or legend as that.
The lands to the east and south of the Cape of Umbar contain many mysteries, and the histories of the people who dwell there are complex. It could be that the mention of such a thing is simply buried or lost in time. Water and wind are both of great significance to the people who dwell in Shagana, for each have greatly affected their lives across the centuries. If you travel brings you to these lands, I advise you to listen to the folk who dwell there, for they will better be teachers on such matters than even I can claim to be, with my renown. I sense now that I have given you what instructions that you sought, and I must take my leave. Perhaps one day my student TitanBar will be able to share such knowledge as is with you, but he is still young and unlearned. It will be some time. Thank you again for the return of Kanash Tubu Hara. I bid you good fortune in your journeys. Bring you to Shagana. Farewell.
Thank you for providing this helpful instruction to us, Shalim.
I appreciate your teachings and for imparting this knowledge to both of us.
Part of me wishes I could come with you on this journey.
But
A greater portion knows I cannot.
After all, I was quite near to not surviving my last adventure with you, and might have perished among the rocks of the Shield Isles when the wave hunter ran aground during the storm. I hope some of the good fortune that spared me will attend you on the next adventure, my friend, and I will eagerly await your safe return to Umbar when that is done. You will have to tell me all about it. But now you plan to return to Darlaja and see how the preparations of the Kindred of the Coins? Such things must happen more swiftly in Umbar than in Gondor, for the Kindred possess all the power of a but there are many more of them. All right, well, let's go and see how things are faring in the next episode of The Song of Waves and Wind.